Hello, everyone. My name is Marita Asamoah, and today's episode is episode 7 of Words of Wisdom. And our poem for today is Natasha in a Mellow Mood. Natasha in a Mellow Mood was written by Tim Sybils. Now, Tim Sybils was a very famous writer as well as a musician. Aside from his literature or his poetic writings, he has also done music and he has collaborated with a few prominent jazz musicians. Also, background on Natasha in a Mellow Mood. Natasha in a Mellow Mood's character was loosely based on a cartoon series that was airing in the 1900s. So today we're going to read this poem, and I will be giving my understanding or my explanation on Natasha in a Mellow Mood. Boris, the link, look at my legs, long as a lovely evening in Leningrad. How they open the air when I walk, the way moonlight opens the dark. Boris, my hair is so black with espionage, so cool and quiet with all those secrets, so well kept, those secrets plans. You've nearly kissed into my ears, but who gives a proletarian damn about Bullwinkle and that flying squirrel and that idiot who draws us? American cartoonist is a virgin. The cartoonist who leaves me less than a Barbie doll under this dress, who draws me with no smell, he is a virgin. The children who watch us every Saturday morning are virgins. Boris, my sweet water bug, I don't want to be a virgin anymore. Look into my eyes, heavy, with the absence of laughter and the presence of vodka. Listen to my Russian lips muss up these blonde syllables of English. I want you. Last night, I dreamed you spelled your code name on my shoulder with the waxed springs of your mustache. I had just come out of the bath. My skin was still damp. My hair poured like ink as I combed through it. Then I heard you whisper, felt you take my hand. Oh, Boris Bendovov. I want your mischief-riddled eyes to invent my whole body. All the silken slopes of flesh forgotten by the blind cartoonist. I want to be scribbled all over you in shapes no pencil would dare. The link. Why don't we take off that funny little hat, though you hardly tall as my thighs? I want your pointy shoes beside my bed. Your coat flung and fallen like a double agent on my floor. Natasha in a Mellow Mood by Tim Sybils. So, one of the main things we noticed or that we addressed when we did discuss this poem was that this was written as if Natasha was the one speaking or expressing herself, but it wasn't that. It was actually Natasha in the perspective of Tim Sybils. I believe that he took his time and he took the moment to describe how a woman would describe herself, regardless of basic, beauty standards that women may face. He took his time to express her in depth and not just surface value. So that's why it seems so musical, or it seems so poetic the way that she was being described, because this was a man basically in the position of a woman who saw herself as a seductive person, somebody who had sex appeal, who had allure. He was able to talk about it, but in a deeper sense, in that of the perspective of a man. I believe that is very deep, and that's why the word had the poem had a very musical flow to it, because he really took his time and understood what he was talking about. Also from the perspective of a man, somebody who can also perceive a woman in not only a mental light, but also as, a sexual light, and just imagining a woman gender-wise. But that's what I took from the tone or the mood of this poem. In this poem, he also attests to how America is a virgin, the cartoonist who leaves me less than a Barbie doll under this dress, who draws me with no smell, he is a virgin. When I was in class, or I remember when we had an open discussion, some of my classmates were expressing about how they believe that it was just we basically, our conversation gave me deeper insight as to how I would understand that portion. And from what I understood, she was saying that the way that men portray women in media, it seems as if they don't have any experience with that body of a grown woman. A lot of times men like to paint women as hairless and fresh and highly taken care of, but we are grown women at the end of the day. That would be a perception of a man who has not encountered a real woman who has a body, who has curves, who has hair, who has a lot of things. So that's what made me believe that she was just referring, or he was just referring to how media paints women to be this type of one way of looking when that's not reality. Towards the end, she spoke about how she dreamed of him spelling his code name on her shoulders with the wax springs of his mustache. She had just had a bath. Her skin was still damp. Her hair was poured like ink as she pulled the comb through it. Then I heard you whisper, "Felt you take my hand, oh boys, boys." Basically, I feel like she's just talking about how he is seeing her in a natural state, or he is explaining the natural state of a woman. In that portion, Natasha is talking about how she just got out of a shower. As we know, if you get out of a shower, you're not done up. You don't have your makeup, your hair. You are now getting yourself together and you're preparing yourself to be seen by others. But she's talking about how he's seeing her before she has everything put up and done up and things like that. And so I believe that that was really in reference to him seeing her in her raw and uncut state, a state in which not a lot of people see her in, but that is her as well. In fact, that is her at her most rarest and truest form. But yes, that is my explanation for Natasha Has a Mellow Mood. Thank you.